Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure by Hirohiko Araki. And we kind of return to the action with Chapter 13, Youth with Dio Part 2. You get a pretty cool splash page with the stone mask. So last time we left off, we were left on a cliffhanger. Dio was found to be still alive, and something is very, very different about him. He proceeded to chop a police inspector's head off in the last issue. And what's kind of interesting about this chapter is so the plot of this chapter doesn't really get resolved at all in this issue, and this is a common thing in manga, and that is it's a character-driven story. The plot is not actually about the conflict between Dio and Jonathan. It's actually about Jonathan's reaction to the return of Dio and what is he going to do about it. So that's kind of a common thing in manga. Think it's not the conflicts are rarely resolved in one issue. They're almost always resolved over many, many, many issues. In the case of like Dragon Ball Z and other series, sometimes an entire book, if not more, to resolve one fight. Anyhow, so Dio is hanging on the wall. He's got superhuman strength, is what we can see. Jonathan very shocked by his survival here. Weird Araki art. Why is his hair flowing over there? Okay. So this is really interesting. Like, take a look at his pose right here. This is very much a martial arts looking pose. Remember that the setting of the first JoJo's Bizarre Adventure arc is in, Victorian era Britain or England, right? And look at this. And this is, you can see the influence of Araki's old job, working for Buronson on Fist of the North Star showing up right there. Not just the oversized, muscular dudes, but just the oddball kung fu poses and stuff. So he goes across the broken glass, it cuts him, doesn't even care, right? You got all these guys reacting to it, and you can see right here that this is a bullet hole that's kind of opening up, and you have Jonathan reacting and thinking about the stone mask. You have Ario Speedwagging telling him, "You got to shoot him, you got to shoot him." So this is interesting. Jonathan grabs a gun. He points it at Dio, and you see one, two, three, four panels, five panels of Jonathan unable to shoot Dio, and it's kind of Araki's way of showing how Jonathan, even with the true evil that Dio is, his inability to just murder his adopted brother or shoot his adopted brother, even with all that's just happened, right? You can see this effect right here, and ends up you see a bang, and it's actually Ario Speedwagon who shoots him. Dio gets shot in the head, and basically it does nothing. And here you have another, like, this is such a Fist of the North Star pose. So, I mean, this is interesting because this is Araki's early career, right? He was just getting started. And, you could see so much of the influence of his previous job on him, right? And this actually gets copied by this kind of pose right here. This, pupils pulling up to the top of the eye, this psychotic look is kind of a common expression in manga. Yeah. That is kind of the nice thing about manga is you see a lot of different expressions that you just don't see in American comics. Some of them are cool and some of them are weird. So you see again characters reacting to characters. This is like such a common thing. Like, look at this. Like, he's like, he won't die. He got shot in the head. I don't get it. I can't process the situation. You have like a lot of this dialogue that would either normally, like in today's modern comics, they wouldn't even do this. They would just have never-ending photos, and the writer would do their freaking job. Or if it was an old American comic, this would be done in like thought bubbles. It wouldn't be, talked out loud in the situation, right? And then here you go, him, exposition within the dialogue. This is such a manga thing. Behold the power that I have gotten from this. So, now we have so this is the manga style thought bubble, right? You have these, They change they filter in the character, and they have these sort of dashed lines instead of the thought bubbles. It's actually pretty cool, though after a while you do kind of like, oh, this is just the manga way of doing. I guess you could say it's like Japanese lettering techniques, right? And so you see Dio just mercilessly jam his hands right into this police officer, and you get some world building here just through action, right? You can see him suck the blood out of this police officer, and now you get some understanding of what the stone mask does to people who obtain the power, right? You get some more characters reacting to characters. Pretty cool. This panel has always pissed me off, and this is one thing I really don't like when Araki does this, because it doesn't make sense. If you think about it, right? He throws this guy, and it smashes this dude's head and tears him apart, right? And then a piece of leg comes over and hits Ario Speedwagon so hard that it breaks his arm. But it comes to the inconsistency of how power levels are kind of, or people's strengths are kind of determined in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And it's probably my biggest beef about Araki, is just a lot of times things are very inconsistent. So he's able to smash this, but in a later issue, you'll see that, he smacks Joseph, and you'd figure at up close range, he'd basically rip Jonathan's arms clean off, right? And, but Jonathan, he just gets away with like broken arms, but these guys get basically shattered, right? Just so weird. I don't like this, but the rest of the issue is still pretty good. Then you see, this is like classic sort of manga, like, Jonathan is quivering in fear, but he turns around and looks at his father, and then it gives him resolve, right, to do what he needs to do. Goes over, grabs his spear, and, again, more manga style dialogue explaining the character. They're always like talking to each other in a fight. That's like the Japanese way. I must explain my situation in this drama through dialogue. And you get what the resolution to this issue. This is like a Japanese thing, right? Is in the beginning, Jonathan, his reaction to the situation of Dio being alive, and it's really okay. How is Dio alive? Okay, it's from the stone mask. What will Dio do now? He'll murder a bunch of people. How will Jonathan and the others react to Dio? In the beginning, Jonathan doesn't know if he can fight Dio. Like, he can't even pull the trigger on a gun on him. Ario Speedwagon does. And by the end of this, you get this dialogue and him grabbing a spear, resolving that I will fight Dio and I will stop him and destroy him, right? And to the Japanese, this is kind of a resolution to an issue, right? In the West, this would not be acceptable. And there's a part of me that kind of like in big issue takobans or trade paperbacks like this, right? I would feel, this is sufficient because you keep moving on and the conflict eventually gets resolved in the next 2 issues. Oh man. But, it's kind of interesting to see the Eastern way of doing things and kind of thinking about it and analyzing it in that way. Anyhow, that's the end of the issue. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments about this particular issue, number 13 of the Phantom Blood arc, leave them down below. And I will see you next time.